Okay, it's recording. And these guys are banging the door. Alright, we're up and running. The power of media.
The power of media. So when we discussed the topic and we chose this one, I immediately thought back to a book that I read at a community college called Toms, Coons, Mulattoes, Mammies, and Bucks.
Interesting.
And yeah, this is a book that was written by a victim of racism who had been in Hollywood for quite some time. He wrote the book, and 10-something years later, came back to rewrite the book, only to find that nothing had actually changed. So they have like 4 editions now, but it's just it's pretty much the same book,
Mm-hmm.
And so it just proves how serious the agenda is to control our images in the media.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the movies that a lot of people point out when they talk about the power of media is the movie Boys in the Hood. So it's a film that, violence was happening in the theaters. It kind of glamorized Los Angeles, the poverty, the gangs, the drug culture, and all that. And gangs spread. They grew, like, almost overnight. Colors was another movie.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Where people, Ohio and all these other places just immediately started choosing colors, tagging up the city. I've learned that wherever there is one gang, there is 2. And that's because of the law of compensation.
Makes sense.
Right? So you have a group of guys, trying to fight for control and resources, et cetera, and they're using violence and basically this by any means mentality to get what they want. You're gonna end up with another gang who comes along to fight the first gang off.
Mm-hmm.
Then you end up with the third gang that says, "We'll rob them both." Then you'll end up with the fourth gang that says, "Hey, we only exist to be quote hitters, so we're just hitmen.
Yeah.
Anybody can hire us, and we'll just shoot the people for you." You know what I'm saying? So it's ongoing, and I think that gang culture right now, 2015, is really a testament to how powerful media images are.
I agree with that 100%. 100%. And the fact that you're even looking at it deeper than the surface level. You know what I mean? You're looking at it at a level of how it can spread, and that when people think about the media, a lot of people, generally speaking anyways, they think of it just from the aspect of entertainment. You know what I mean? And they're not looking at it from the aspect of influence and control over the mind or the subconscious, social behavior, or social engineering. Right there, you're basically summing up like social engineering, manufacturing a type of reality that we start to live out or perpetuate that much more. Because the joke is, I remember those movies, Boys in the Hood and Colors, and it even had an impact and effect up here. And that's the funny thing about it. We're not even in the same country. Up here in Toronto, it had an impact up here. So that just shows you the power of the media, as far as social behavior or conditioning of people's minds. And then when you look at it as far as even the image of black people, so-called black people in the media, the vast majority of times, it's not a positive image that you see. It's usually a negative, a very degraded state, a very just not appealing, state. You rarely see images for the upliftment, for the advancement of the soul, spirit, the whole mind of our people. And I think that even goes back to um, the importance of controlling your image, of controlling the media, having your own media, and not depending on other people's to put you in a proper light, other people's media.
Right. I've concluded from watching the news, because there's kind of been an influx of all this new black programming on television with the reality shows and the dramas, and I've concluded that the new thing is about the more beautiful the black woman is in the role, the more scandalous she is. So, so the new black woman is beautiful, but she's ruthless and untrustworthy and always scheming.
That's deep.
Right?
That's deep.
The black women that are being given roles and dressed up to look older and I don't know what's the word, I guess homely, makeup, whatever. They get to be the nurturers. So they don't get anything. They're just always running around doing for people, comforting people, giving advice when things fall apart, but never really being celebrated in any way, shape, or form. So those are the two. Well, I guess there's another dynamic of this young, black, wannabe Paris Hilton type. So they're showing, the party girls, they drink, get drunk,
turn up,
show their panties, and they're on the back of their motorcycles with their thongs on, and it's being displayed in the media as
rebellion, fun.
So they're talking about where's Scott, right? There's Portia on Atlanta Housewives. She says she has a Thought Nation.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, there's people say I'm the princess. I think she said she's the princess of Thoughtlandia. And thought means that hole over there, right? So they're making this lifestyle look fun when really these women are being used and passed around. These are single women who are being impregnated and left alone. These are women being abused. These are the women that are, raped by some of these celebrities, etc.
Yeah.
But they're trying to pass it off as it's fun. So we should wear see-through clothing because it's fun. We should show our nipples. It's just fun. And not showing all of the mental trauma that these women have been through. This woman that I'm talking about, Portia on Atlanta Housewives, she wasn't like this when she was married.
Interesting.
She started off on the show as one of the only married women on Atlanta Housewives. She was very classy, always fully dressed, etc., etc.
Wow. The funny thing is, I've heard of the show. I've heard of the show, but I've never watched it. I've heard more about it from like a lot of different people, but I've never actually watched the show. So just hearing you telling me how that character Portia, how she's changed from the beginning to I guess where she is now, that says a lot. You know what I mean? It definitely says a whole lot, because a lot of these actors or actresses, um, they don't even realize. Well, you know what? I don't even want to assume, but I would say the vast majority of them don't realize how the role that they're playing in conditioning the minds of the collective. You know, how they're being used as tools. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, maybe a lot of people are looking at, well, I gotta make that money. You know, I gotta be good. I gotta live my quote unquote dream and get what I want. Maybe that's what they're thinking.
Well, I will say that that's a very good point, and it should be noted that nobody doing things for our community is getting major airtime, period.
Gotcha. For real. I agree.
You know?
I think part of the problem or issue is that we rely too much on the system or the powers that be and their tools and their instruments or their media. And we don't look at it like, well, one, to have the awareness of you're in a war. And if you're in a war, don't think that the enemy, first you have to know who you are, one, and then know who your enemy is. And then once you know who your enemy is, don't think that your enemy is going to lend you or give you their weapons, give you their guns, give you their tanks for you to use against them, or for you to empower yourself, or for you to defend yourself. Your enemy's not going to do that.
Best quote for that. I have the best. I said I have the best quote for what you just described.
Was that Sun Tzu?
Yeah, this is a quote that I ran across again today. It's a quote by Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, okay.
And he said, I destroy my enemies when I make them my friends.
I remember hearing that. Yeah.
Think about that.
That's deep.
They're destroying us by pretending to be our friends.
Uh-huh.
Their type of friendship is deadly.
Yeah. You're right. Because it's very deceptive.
It extends to you, consider it poison.
Yeah. Because it's not true friendship.
They don't understand true friendship. It's not a part of their culture.
And that's another thing. That's a big thing that I was trying to stress quite a bit, is that culture plays a big role on behavior and standards and conditioning of the mind, of the subconscious mind. Culture is extremely important. It's like culture equals just way of life. So who set up your way of life? Who has set up your culture?
Right.
You know?
Do you know what white people are concerned with when they gather in a room together? They have hundreds and thousands of books on networking.
Yeah.
What can you do for me?
Mm-hmm.
How can we build something? How is this beneficial? What am I walking away with? There is no fellowship for the sake of fellowship. There is no I want to know what's in your heart. You know what I'm saying? Did you give me a deal or not? Did you support my initiative or not? Are you a possible buyer, consumer, customer or not? That's what they do. It's networking. And they do it at the bars, they do it at the golf course, they do it over 5-course dinners. I mean, you know, they go out, but it's networking. So my kids and your kids will get together for a play date, but believe when the two women are in the kitchen, they're, quote, networking, not becoming friends. Because they don't understand that. You know what I'm saying?
They're about that life. They're about building. They're about power, control, domination.
You think about the high school kids I told you about that created the student-led on-campus white supremacy club.
Mm-hmm.
These are high school students. They didn't say, let's just all come together and have a group just to express how we feel and just talk about, what's going on in the world. No. These kids said, we have to organize our power. Now, not when we get in college, not when we start owning things, but we should organize our power now.
And they're looking at it in a very tangible and physical way. It's not abstract. It's not feel good. It's not, it's not vague. It's tangible. We want to see the materialism, the actual physical aspect of our power.
And these are the people who are going to write thesis papers.
Yes.
Get their stuff printed in journals.
Yeah.
I mean, these are people who are going to collaborate to get into the best colleges. They're going to give each other jobs. They're creating their own fraternity right now.
Exactly. And then meanwhile probably write about how based off of science, you are subhuman. You are actually inferior. Sorry, it's evolution or whatever.
They say
whatever they want to concoct.
Today, it was talking about Michelle Obama, saying she has no right to get up there and speak about race because she didn't grow up in poverty.
You see? You see?
So basically, it's just a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Them trying to cut down your voice.
Part of the problem too, or the issue is, and I've noticed this even on social media, because it's very interesting just observing and watching different personalities, different people go about and do things online and obviously offline too. But when you see people of different backgrounds, the problem is, or what the problem is, we're so concerned about other people in the sense of how they see race or racism, and if they don't co-sign what we're saying, I guess it can't be valid. We have to get away from caring too much about what other people say, especially Gentile European people, what they say concerning the way that we feel and our psychological state, or whether or not things are racist, whether racism exists and to what extent it exists. Who cares what other people feel about that? Now the question is, how do we feel about it? Can we look at what has happened to us? Can we get a good look at what has happened to us, what we've gone through, how we've suffered as far as from a self-esteem aspect, self-worth aspect, and how do you counteract that? Different ways to counteract that without worrying too much about if it makes other people feel uncomfortable. Why are you concerned about other people feeling uncomfortable when it's like you're consistently at the bottom of the totem pole? Your self-esteem and self-worth, your whole essence continues to take a hit over and over and over again. And then when you lash out, when you react in, say, a so-called uncivilized manner, then it's like, well, you're a savage. That's how you will be painted in the media. So it's very important that we seek, therapy, we seek, healing amongst ourselves first. Be more concerned, voice our opinion, voice how we feel, voice our whole circumstance, our whole circumstances among ourselves first than worrying too much about what other people may think or feel. Because a lot of times, what you find, I'm not saying necessarily all the time, but a lot of times, based off of my observation, what you will find is that people don't always have your best interest in mind because they're more concerned about their own. And if they're in a
Right.
position of power, staying in power. And they're actually getting more power.
That's right. Well, I definitely think
Hold on one sec.